Alright, welcome to Walk in the Park. And now you're going to learn to walk. Now you should know that walking is one of the hardest things to get right in animation. But on the other hand, it's a great place to start because once you've mastered walking, the other aspects of animations may seem easier as well. Alright, first of all, just like we talked about in the earlier episodes, you start with two extremes, the two main keyframes, and then you have a breakdown position in the middle. And the breakdown position really describes the motion and how it flows. And of course, these would be the main extreme poses in a walk. This is a very typical walk, but you get the idea. And in the middle, you have the breakdown pose. And the breakdown, again, here is extremely important because this is what really describes what kind of walk it is. So by altering the breakdown, you can make all kinds of different walks. This is a completely normal walk. And you can see by just using these three poses, you already have something that looks pretty good. And by altering the middle pose here, you can see we get something completely different. I've almost only altered the pose here in the middle, and we get a completely different type of walk. So now I'm going to set up a basic walk cycle in Blender, and you can follow along as I do it. First of all, I've loaded the biped character up into Blender. And the first thing we need to do is to make sure that the feet are set to IK so they don't slide around. So I've already done that here. You can see the feet are IK and the knees always point towards those knee controls there. Alright, so the first thing we want to do is we want to create the main extreme walk pose here. So I'm going to separate the legs out a little bit, right? And I'm also making sure that we have auto keying on, so that every change I make, every time I move a bone, it records that movement. So I'm just going to put down the pelvis a little more so that he's actually touching the ground, and moving the toes up a little bit. And just also rotate the pelvis a little bit so that he's kind of swinging his behind just slightly. And normally in a walk, the arms will always move opposite from the rest of the body. So I'm going to put, because I have the left foot forward, I'm going to make the right arm go forward in this pose, right? And I have auto IK on, so I can quickly also pose the arms if I want to change the way the arms are posed. I'm going to just close the hands up slightly here. As you can see there, I have auto IK on. All right. Just put him a little bit more upwards as well. All right. And once I'm happy with this pose, all I do is I select all the bones, hit I, and select Lock Rot Scale so that it records both the location and rotation and scale of all my bones in the character. So now I can see I have one keyframe where all the bones are keyframed. All right. I'm just going to zoom in here, and what we're going to do is I'm going to take the pose that we have, and then we're going to mirror it because we want to make it opposite. So if you go down here, there's the button where you can copy the pose, and you can either paste it, or you can also paste it mirrored using this button here. So I pressed paste mirror, and now when we move back and forth in time, you can see it's going from one pose to another. It's actually going from the one pose to the same pose but mirrored. So this is very useful for doing a walk. You don't need to do the opposite pose. The computer can actually do it for us. But at the moment, it's just going from the two extremes without the breakdown in the middle. Before we move on, though, I'll just take the original pose and put it, at the end, and paste it without using any mirrored. And then I'm going to set the end duration to be the last frame of the walk here, using the E key down in the timeline, right? And that means when we play it back, it's actually looping. It goes back to the original pose again. So it's kind of just skating along at the moment. So the next step, again, is to insert the breakdown pose. So I'll go right into the middle of the first two poses here. And then I can start to pose him and make sure that the right foot is on the ground, so that the one to the right side here will be on the ground, and the one on the left will be up a little bit. All right, so I'm just moving this up. I'm also taking the pelvis and moving the entire character up as well, just so that he, it has a little bit of an up and down motion. I'm also just putting a little bit of variation on the arms, so that they don't look the same from the silhouette in this pose. Also, again, making the entire pose a little bit more asymmetrical to get the walk to seem more natural. All right. Now I've saved this and inserted a keyframe and made this my breakdown. And again, I'll copy this pose and paste it in between the next ones. And now already you can see, with so little work, we already have something that looks, passable. It's already, an okay walk cycle. Of course, we can make this even better. And so one of the things we need to adjust is the up and down motion of the pelvis. Right. So I'm just making him go a little bit more down as he hits the ground, and then a little bit more up before he hits the ground. And that just makes it look a little bit more natural. And of course, you can adjust the exact up and down motion by adjusting the interpolation curves in the animation curves editor. And I'm just going to expand that, right? And this is the up and down motion of the pelvis. And of course, you can adjust the motion of all the bones in the body, but by just adjusting the curves for the pelvis, you can completely alter the look and feel of the walk cycle. So I'm just going to, smooth it out just a little bit, right? So I'll just move the handles around until it's as smooth as I want it to be. I'm also going to minimize, forward and backwards motion of the pelvis as well, which will make it seem a little bit more natural. And as you can see, by just, altering this pelvis bone, we're changing a lot of things about the way the walk looks by just changing this one bone. So that's a very useful way to adjust the walk. All right. And already we have something that looks pretty good. Created very, very quickly. All right. So we've sort of created like a basic normal walk, but it doesn't have a lot of character. So let's add some variation on top of what we already have. All right. So I've taken out the breakdown poses we had before, right? We inserted the breakdown pose, and I'm going to go in here and add a different breakdown pose, a variation. So instead of the rather bland normal walk we had before, I'm going to try something a little bit more fun. And instead of having him go, up in the breakdown pose, I'm going to have him just, go down. And that looks pretty fun actually already. I'll just adjust the arms more, just to go out a little bit more. And then again, I'll insert keyframes in all the frames, copy the original and mirror it. And see, already we've created a completely different walk cycle. By just altering the breakdown pose, we've completely altered the character and the way it moves. And of course, you can insert more keyframes in between this breakdown pose and the extremes. But it's a good idea to wait doing that until you are happy with the main poses you have here. And you can keep on experimenting with just these basic poses until you have the correct character that you're looking for. I'm just playing around a little bit with the arms, just to make sure that they swing a little bit nicer. And again, I'm taking the pelvis bone and adding just a little bit more, up and down with the pelvis. And I'm also just in between the breakdown and the extreme. I'm just going to change the path of the foot a little bit, making it a little bit less extreme now. But you can see we already have something that's pretty funky, and it was very easy and quickly to do it. And again, I've left the original extreme poses pretty much alone. And, it's just quite easy and fun to just start experimenting with all kinds of interesting walks. Once you have something you like, you can also try to, scale it up to make it a little slower. I'll set the end frame differently, right? And now it's a little bit more sort of as a slow, lazy walk than it was before. Alright, that's all. This should give you a pretty good idea about how to approach a walk cycle, and it shows you that walking isn't that hard after all.